Awesome. This is great. We are now going live on YouTube. Super excited. Okay. So we're going to minimize that. And then, all right, great. We got a lot of people coming in. Welcome to Joseph Walker and Keith Pinster. Perfect. All right, gotta get rid of that echo. All right. Okay, so I want to share my screen. So I have to click the share button. Beautiful. And then let's jump into our presentation. There we go. Credit banking and the search for the lost American dream. Welcome to our credit banking mastermind. This is what we've been doing every week for the last, this is now week 7. So for the last 6 weeks, we've been coming to you, really diving in and trying to understand how do we bank through our credit and use that to reduce our debt. Oh, so excited. We got so much to cover tonight. I want to just jump right on in, because when we learn how to use this credit banking strategy, it can help us achieve the American dream. But what is the American dream? Of course, that's different for everybody. But I'm Joseph Smith, and my business partner, Ray Fleming, and I, we're the Wise Guys in Ties, as you see on your screen. And we are dedicated to helping you achieve your God-given purpose, I mean, whatever that is. And if you're right now living the dream, well, then amen. We're happy for you. But I feel like for the vast majority of folks out there, they are enslaved, or they're hampered, or they're held back by debt. And so what we want to do, the purpose of this mastermind, is really work on debt reduction strategies, namely credit banking strategies. And I want to thank CJ Wallace for letting us come here live to his YouTube channel. What a great person CJ Wallace is, always bringing so much value, so much love, so much caring and empathy to all of the subscribers on his channel. He is a servant leader, constantly looking out for each and every one of you here. And that's why he's called upon Wise Guys in Ties. He frequently uses professionals in his life to help him succeed. And he's called upon us in a professional capacity to come and help you learn how to succeed. So our services, first of all, I'll let you know, I'm not an attorney. I'm not practicing any law here. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a fiduciary, a financial advisor, planner. I'm nothing like that. I'm a successful business owner who has achieved a lot of success in real estate investing, and I've utilized a lot of creative and advanced financial strategies to get that done. And a lot of people ask us, how do we do it? Now, my results aren't typical, and I'm not saying you're all going to have some great Cinderella story, but it is possible. And I want to at least help many of you who feel like you're stuck or you're trapped, know that there is a way out, not to feel despair or hopelessness setting in. And so I'm going to share some strategies with you tonight, and we're going to mastermind a little bit as we talk through these and share our different experiences together. It is my goal and my hope that you will take these strategies, these principles, and really speak to the local professionals within your life, the attorneys and the CPAs, and see if what we're covering here makes sense, and make sure that it fits and applies to your financial situation. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right on in. My contact information right there on the screen if you'd like to contact us and set up a free 30-minute consultation. Now, how do you participate in this webinar? Very simply, go to wiseguysinties.com/credit banking. All right, let's blow that up on your screen. Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Central, we're here. When you go to our website and you go to the credit-banking page, you have the opportunity to fill in your initial information. I don't share this with anybody. I don't sell it to anybody. This is just so that I can communicate with you, and only if you want me to. If you don't want me to contact you, I won't. but you have to check mark all 4 of the boxes. Then as you scroll down, if you want to, you can put in your financial information. We use this for the purpose of sharing this information on these masterminds so that we can work together and strategize and look at and apply these principles to actual real life numbers. And what's great is every week we take a look at somebody's different financial picture. We don't share any names. We don't talk about any specific accounts or anything like that. It's just for us to really just practice what we're learning and apply it and really strategize and mastermind and work together. It gives the person who provides their information the opportunity to have everyone on this mastermind who participates the opportunity to share, their 2 cents, what they think. Hey, well, here's my finances. I don't know what to do. And all of a sudden everyone starts saying, oh, well, have you considered this? Or why not try that? So great opportunity. If you want to participate, this is how you do it. All right. Again, my name is Joseph Smith. I'm going to be your Sherpa, your guide up the mountain, right? Not the mountain of debt, right? I'm helping us climb that mountain of success. Hopefully, if you can catch a little bit of what we're trying to bring to you, my goal is to be able to help you, to guide you, to point you in the right direction. Because you know what? I was stuck. I'm somebody who's went 2 foreclosures and a bankruptcy. And if it wasn't for people that came in my life and kind of guided me towards these alternative financial strategies, I would still be stuck. I would still be, in a dead-end job and barely making it. So this is my opportunity to pay it forward. So what are we going to cover here? Well, every week we kind of go into a little bit of different strategies. Last week we talked about the budget. This week we're going to talk about lines versus loans. It's really helpful when you're going to start utilizing a credit banking strategy to, first of all, have a budget, know what your cash flow is, and eliminate all the areas where you might be spending in excess or duplicating, and find ways to increase income. But once we do that, we have to take a good hard look at the different loan products that we have out there, the different credit cards and lines, and see how these work together and see how much they really cost, so that we can, if we're going to use a credit banking strategy, to understand how that works and what we're actually saving. We have in the past weeks talked about setting your financial goal. Make sure that you understand what is your financial freedom goal. And so all of these things combined together are very helpful in helping you achieve the success you want to achieve with the credit banking strategy. We just don't have time to cover everything in one webinar, which is why we break things up and we spend some time. So, I mean, if you have questions, if there's things where you want a little more clarification, that's what this mastermind's for. Go ahead and type it on in. And other people, as you see questions come in and you think you know the answer, feel free to go ahead and chime on in as well. This is a mastermind after all. And then as I have opportunities, I will pause and try to answer the questions that I can. Also, my business partner, Ray Fleming, he's in on the chat line as well. And so he'll be trying to answer as many questions that come up as possible as well. So moving right along, let's talk about lines versus loans. Now, if you needed to borrow $10,000, would you rather pay 21% interest or 6% interest? Well, it's kind of a silly question, right? I mean, obviously, you would want to pay the least amount of money for that money, for that 10,000 as possible. But let me tell you what the answer is. Really, it depends on how the interest is amortized. Amortized meaning, how is the money paid back over time? And really, once you understand the amortization of the interest, it begins to help you understand how expensive it really is. So in some respects, people say, well, interest is interest. Well, yes, it is. It just depends on the terms of that interest, because some of the interest is very expensive early on and then cheaper at the end. So we'll dive more into that right now. So here on your screen, and here I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can make my picture disappear just for a minute. Okay, so here on your screen is when we were talking about budget last week, we broke down the different aspects of the budget into the loans. So there was a home loan on your right, and then an auto loan, and then also we had some credit cards, 3 credit cards, each with a $5,000 balance, giving or limit, giving us a $15,000 limit, but carrying a $1,000 balance. So those credit cards were at 21% interest, whereas the home mortgage, the auto loans, they were at 6% interest. So you see that $600 a month, that's those two different auto loans. Okay, so we're just combining all of that. Okay, so what we're looking at here is, if I can, I love technology when it works, is to understand this comparison, I'm going to try to take it to something that you understand. So fresh water at sea level freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, or depending on which scale you use, it freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, right? So if that's the case, then we know that those two are equivalent. Those two are equal. Okay, so let's take a look. If we were to change 0 degrees Celsius to 1 degree Celsius, but compare that to the 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which temperature is hotter? I mean, I think that goes without saying, right? I mean, that's not too difficult. We increased one and we didn't change the other. They were equal. So obviously now the 1 degree Celsius is hotter. Okay, well, what if we changed both of these? And so now you have 21 degrees Fahrenheit and 6 degrees Celsius. Which temperature is hotter? Well, it's 6 degrees Celsius. Now, for some of you, you might look at that and be like, how can a 6 be more or be hotter than 21? Well, why is the 21 in this case less than the 6? It's just because we're dealing with different scales, right? Celsius and Fahrenheit. But how the interest is to be repaid, we're talking about the amortization, a line of credit versus a loan, how it's to be repaid, that determines how expensive or how hot the interest really is. So let's take a look. Now, how it gets repaid is also one of the factors in how it's repaid is whether the way the money was borrowed, if it was a one-directional loan or if it is a revolving line of credit. So let's look at what one-directional is versus revolving line of credit. So one-directional, what does that mean? So one-directional loans, well, you get the money right up front, right? To buy the house, you get the money from the bank. Say you're buying a $250,000 house, and bam, they give the whole chunk of money. It goes at closing, pays it off. Now you have the house and you've got your payments. So every month you make your mortgage payment. Not a problem. However, what happens if one day the air conditioning breaks down and you hire a contractor, HVAC guy comes out and sees that, oh, well, you got these problems, and he fixes it and gives you a $500 bill. Well, and you don't have $500. Can you go to the bank and say, hey, I'd like to get some money back? Well, notice that in a one-directional loan, money that you pay in never comes back to you, right? Money only moves in one direction, from you to the bank, from you to the bank. Okay, so compare that to a revolving line of credit. So here you have your credit limits, and the examples that we've been giving here, you have a $15,000 limit and you're carrying a $12,000 balance. So here you are, and you've got to make your minimum monthly payments. So here you are, you make your payment, you make a big, huge payment, but hey, wait a minute, some money came back to me. I make my payment next month, and some money came back to me. And you might be saying, wait a minute, I've paid my credit card bills many times and no money ever came back. That's not what I mean. It's like you're converting. Has anybody ever traveled before and you went to another country? And so you're from America, you've got your dollars, and you go to another country and you have to convert your currency into their currency. So when you do that, you no longer have any dollars. You now have a whole bunch of another country's currency. Well, that's what happens here. So we're just talking two different currencies. Cash is one currency, that's what you make your payment with, but then the bank returns back to you credit, available credit. So you might, if you start looking at the interest rates and realize that it's an APR, then how much interest is actually being taken out of each payment that you make, you'll find that in some cases, 90% of the money that you paid in on that credit card returns back to you an available line of credit. So you're saying, well, how's that money back? Well, what can you buy on credit these days? Well, really, what can't you buy on credit? I mean, there's very little that where someone says, no, I'm sorry, we don't take credit. I mean, pretty much everywhere accepts credit. So when you take your cash and you're going to use a credit banking strategy and you put it into a line of credit, yeah, that cash is gone, but it returns back to you as available credit. So that's a very key concept. And when we're comparing how expensive the money is, if imagine if every time you made a payment, you got back, on your house or your mortgage or anything. If you made a payment and then a large chunk of that payment still came back to you, you haven't lost the buying power. So how the interest is amortized in the loan versus a line of credit. We've already taken a look at the one directional and the revolving aspect, but now let's take a look at how the interest is done differently. So let's look at a line of credit. This is the mathematical formula for calculating, say, if something's non-amortized, what does that mean? Amortized, non-amortized means you're making interest-only payments. It just means there is no set schedule to repay back the principal balance. You could have a lot of different non-amortized. You could have something where payments are deferred for a few months and then there's a big one lump sum payment. Sometimes that's called a balloon. You could be making lots of payments that are interest only where you're not paying down the principal and then at one point start making payments towards the principal. But in any rate, this is the formula for just making interest only payments. So let's take a look at that. So in this example, we have A equals P times I divided by 12. And so our monthly payment equals our principal times the interest that we're going to pay as calculated as an APR, an annual percentage rate. And then we have all of that divided by 12, which is how many months there are in a year. So let's take a look at that. So if we do want to, if there is going to be principal pay down, and that could be any amount. So you take your principal and let's say, you got to read the fine print on every credit card, but the principal pay down could be in this case, 3.25%. Could be higher. Maybe it's 5%. Maybe it's lower. Maybe it's only 1%. 1% of the principal needs to be paid down every month. Right? So here we are, 3.25%. So let's take a look. Let's start plugging our numbers in. From our previous example, you remember we had a $15,000 limit, but we were carrying a $12,000 balance, and our credit card interest rate was at 21% interest. So with our $12,000 balance and the fact that the fine print says we need to pay down 3.25%, so when we plug it all in and we do the math and we're dividing it out, right? I'm just sort of speeding through here so you can see it. But you see here, you have $390 is getting paid down every month of the $12,000 balance, while $210 is going towards the interest. Putting that together, that's how you come up with your $600 minimum monthly payment. And that is how you figure out, okay, so that's how much it costs and to pay down the debt. Now, at this rate, if you were continuing to pay this down, on this credit card, it could take over 28 years to pay off this debt. Now, why are you saying, well, how does that work? 28 years? Well, if you look at how people utilize their credit, they use it, they pay it down, and they have to use it back up. I mean, we're taking some just the fact that we're not really paying it down that much, only $390, and then as the credit card is going to get used, it offsets any gains that we make. And so when we look at it and we start running it through several different computations, if we stopped using the card altogether, this could be paid off in a few years, right? You just have to take your balance and divide that all out, right? If we were to completely stop using this card, right? And if we were to completely stop using the card, never going to use it again. I mean, but who does that? But if we never stopped using this card, then I mean, it could be paid off in 2.5, maybe 3 years, right around that time, depending on little fees and that could be attached to that. But that's not realistic. And what's realistic is we still continue to use the card. And that's how we get caught in a trap of it taking forever to pay this down. So let's look at the amortization, or how loans are paid back. Now, before we were looking at how credit cards were paid back, and it was much easier to calculate. Now look at this. This is how amortized interest is calculated on loans. So where we have A equaling your amortized monthly payment, and what is that? That's equal to the product of the beginning principal balance times, and then in your numerator, you have your interest rate divided by 12, and then you have below that 1 minus, and then in parentheses, 1 plus your interest rate divided by 12, and all of that to the negative, well, it says nth power, but that's the term. So how many months is the term? Let's plug in our numbers and figure this out. So if we are purchasing a $200,000 house at 6% interest for a term of 30 years, then this is where you start plugging in your numbers. You start doing the math. So let's do the math. So we resolve our brackets first. We're resolving everything in the numerator and the denominator. We're coming up, we're dividing out our decimals, and then we're finishing out the equations. And so this is how we arrive at the $1,200 monthly payment that you will pay every month for 360 months on this amortized loan. Now, when they say it's at 6% interest, it is 6% interest if you look at it over the course of 30 years. However, not everybody lives in their house for 30 years. In fact, less than 1% of people live in a house with a mortgage and pay it off over a 30-year period of time. It's not really done that way anymore. And we're going to see what the actual numbers are. But you're gonna see that this becomes the way that the interest is front loaded on these loans. You're paying more towards interest early on in this loan than you are later. So here is the amortization schedule. Number of payments, 360 payment periods. You know, there's 12 payment periods in 1 year. We've got the interest rate. And so if this loan started at January this year, right? We go ahead and we see that, oh, all of our payments are laid out for us over the next 30 years. Well, how do we figure out how much in total interest are we going to pay? Well, we've got a formula for that. Total interest paid over the life of the loan is equal to your monthly payment times your total number of payments, which is 360, and then you subtract your beginning principal. So let's plug in our numbers. Take our monthly payment, and so over the life of the loan, we will pay $432,000 over 30 years. If we don't miss a payment, we go all 360 payments. We subtract out the original cost of the loan that we borrowed, then the total interest paid is $232,000 for a $200,000 loan. So again, that is 6% interest per year over 30 years when you space it out. And at the end, all the math works out just right. However, take a look at this. This is the amortization as expressed on a graph. Now take a look here. Your average, family is going to move within 5 years, or they're going to refinance. So take a look at where they're at. The blue line is the interest being paid. Do you see that like over 80% of your payment is going towards interest? I mean, and that amount falls every month. And then if you look at the back, less than 20% of your payment goes towards principal. This is early on, but now each payment, as you look, like each payment, an extra dollar goes more towards the principal. Then when you're 222 months into the loan, right? 222 months is 18 and a half years, right? 18 and a half years into this loan, you reach that magic point where you now have equaled the same amount going towards principal as interest. And then every month after that, you're now making more towards the principal and less towards the interest. So as you can see, everything is front loaded here on your screen, everything. And that means that the interest is all being charged up front. Now, that's fine if you're going to stay in the house for 30 years, everything's going to work out just fine. But as you see here, this is where Americans are. On your screen, you can see that this little bubble is where we either move or we refinance within the 5 to 7 years. So we are not actually getting the benefit of really effectively borrowing money at the 6% interest rate. We're paying actually hundreds of percent interest early on here for the principal that we're gaining. And then when you refinance, you just start the clock all over again. Or when you move and you get a new house, you start the clock all over. So nobody is really moving out of this bubble. And so it's just very expensive to be in a loan. So if we look at this example for the mortgage, so if we made all of our payments for 5 years, let's say we've been in the house 5 years, and so that's 6 months. So for 60 months, we've been paying $1,200, right? $1,200, $1,200, $1,200. Well, in 5 years, you've paid $72,000 towards that house. But if you look based off of the way it's amortized, only $13,000 in the first 5 years went towards the principal. Now these numbers are rounded, right? There's no perfect numbers. It's more than that. It's like 13,800 something. But I'm rounding the numbers to show a point. And then if you look at in interest, you've paid approximately $59,000 in interest. Do you see the lopsidedness in this? This doesn't actually work out at this rate of being 6%. When you look at where you're at in this factor, you're paying over 100% in interest, right? And of course, early on in the way that the loans are amortized, more is going towards the interest than the principal. Now, if we were to, if we could show you a better way, would you be interested in seeing? Of course you would. So with the credit banking strategy, which is we're going to really go into how you use the lines of credit next week. But what we're going to do is we're going to take lines of credit and that are amortized differently than the way the loan is, and we're going to transfer a lot of the principal in huge chunks over to the lines of credit. then we will run all of our income through our lines of credit, and that'll have the effect of aggressively paying down that line of credit very quickly. And then once the line of credit is cleared again, we go take another chunk out of the principal of whatever the loan is, and then we pay that down. Combining the way that the interest is amortized on a line of credit as opposed to how it's being amortized in the loan will have the net effect of paying down that loan in 1/3 the time. And so very excited. And I definitely want you to come back next week to learn more about that. But right now, let's turn to our mastermind. Now, in our mastermind, each week we have numbers that are shared from different folks such as you that are out there. And so we're just going to take a look. So what I want you to do is look at these numbers with me, and this is interactive. So let's talk about these numbers. All right. So you can get your calculator ready and let's figure out what we got going on here. So here we are dealing with an individual with $9,500 of income with expenses equaling $6,900. So let's right off the bat figure out what is the cash flow. All right, let's figure that out. Cash flow. Well, we take our $9,500, we subtract $6,900, and what's ever left over, that's our cash flow. So our cash flow, $2,600. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay. Now, they have an available credit limit of $24,000. However, they're carrying a balance of $23,000. So let us calculate the credit utilization. Hopefully I spelled that right. I'm not embarrassing myself. So we have to figure that out. Well, how do we calculate utilization? Fairly easy. We take our balance, our credit balance, 23,000, and we divide that by our available credit limit. And that should give us a percentage. So there you see the percentage. Let's round that a bit. And so what is our utilization right now? Our utilization is at 96%. Whew. That's pretty high. That is some high utilization. All right. The interest rate they have on the credit cards is at 18%. Now, loan amount that they're talking about wanting to pay off is $143,000. All right, let's take a look. I got something coming in off the chat. Yeah. Hey, Jamar, yeah, you're saying that's pretty high. Yeah, exactly. And the people that participate in this mastermind, they have some challenges, no doubt. So there's 142 months left in the loan. There's $143,000 they want to pay off. And this is at a 5% interest rate. And the monthly payment on it is $1,342.05. Current situation. I'm 57 and I have a good job, but I need to get a new car, put daughter through college, bought my house in 2002, but need to pay off debt. And oh yeah, it would be nice to retire someday. Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? So what can credit banking do for me, or should I get a refi loan? Well, I think I can safely say that you should not get a refi loan. Now, are we against refinancing here? No, I mean, there's always we talk about the efficiency of your debt. And if your debt has very low efficiency, sometimes it is a good idea to refinance into some higher efficiency debts. But for the most part, because of how much money that you lose, especially in equity in a loan, refinancing it has its place, but it should be used as a tool, as a specific strategy, as opposed to the way many people think about it is, oh, whew, I'm going to consolidate some debt. I'm going to get a little bit of a loan. I mean, all you've done is extended how long you're going to be in debt is all it is. And so, no, I don't think you should ever look into a refi loan, because there are better ways for us to free up your cash flow, I think, and and start making some progress on these debts. But let's open it up to the mastermind. We're taking a look here at where this person's at. We've got some cash flow to work with. I mean, that's always a good thing. So here's our cash flow. Let's also keep in mind that we have some utilization here that we better be mindful of. Wow, I forgot to make that red. There we go, and bold it. So we've got cash flow, we've got of 2,600, we've got utilization of 96%. I don't know, folks, where do you think we should go? What should we do? I mean, if we're going to use a credit banking strategy, what would you do first? What would you do first? Anything coming in on the YouTube? Perfect. All right. So definitely want to open this up and encourage some participation, because all right.
Billy Flowers says paycheck park into the lines. And you will also get the cash flow gain from not having the monthly payment on the line becomes cash flow.
All right, so we have some people on YouTube saying that we should put the income into the credit cards, and then I have I've got Jamar who's saying let's pay down the credit cards. I've got Will who's saying use your cash flow to reduce the utilization. So you guys, you're great. You guys are getting it. I mean, that's obviously what we need to do. We've got to free up the cash flow. I do want to, however, put a little proviso out there, a little warning. I don't know how long we've been at 96% utilization. All right, that's a red flag. I mean, if they just got up, if they just crept up there within the last 12 months, then yeah, we could immediately start paying this down. But if we've been at 96% utilization for more than 12 months, or let's say we even haven't been at 96, what if we have been over 50% utilization for more than 12 months, then we run the risk of, if we start putting our income into the line of credit, that the bank will reduce the available credit. And that's kind of scary. Imagine putting $9,500 worth of income into the credit balance and watching them shrink your available credit limit by $9,500. And then you're like, oh no, what am I going to do? So again, the $24,000 in these available lines of credit, we're going to have to break them out. So I don't know how many credit. I don't think this is one credit card. This could be multiple credit cards, and so which ones have been maxed out for a while, which ones have large balances. Like, we've got to figure out which of these cards is the best card to use for our credit banking strategy. So number one, we want a card that has not been, that we're going to use, that hasn't been over 50% utilization for more than 12 months. Otherwise, we run the risk of having them drop our balance. So that's something I just want to throw that out to you. Not a lot of people understand that, which is why you shouldn't take what we talk about on the masterminds, and you might hear people talk about velocity banking, credit banking. It's called mortgage sweep strategies, cash flow banking. A lot of different terminologies out there, and you watch something on YouTube and then you go run and do it. I definitely recommend that you should always get educated, know what it is you're doing, consult with financial professionals before making decisions that could have a financial impact to you. So, because I agree with everybody on the chat with what you said. Yeah, let's run the income through the credit cards, but we have to do this smartly. So if we're going to make some assumptions here that this credit balance has not been over or at this high for more than 12 months. Let's say they just recently had to put a whole bunch of stuff on their credit cards just this past year, and maybe they just had a fantastic Christmas and went on a great vacation. I don't know, but let's just say that this has all happened fairly recently. Well, then, okay, that's fine. Then the credit banking strategy will work. And if this hasn't, let's find which cards haven't. Now, what if this is a situation where someone's like, oh no, I've been maxed out like this for a couple of years. Okay, not to worry. We're not going to start the credit banking strategy on any of those cards that have been maxed out, right? We're going to keep making the payments though on them, of course. But what we're going to do, and what we encourage folks to do, is to start a new strategy, which is credit banking. So we're doing credit banking. We're going to combine that strategy with business credit. And you're like, business credit? What are we talking about? Yes, yes. If you don't have the ability to, oh, what is going on here? All right. Here's what we're going to do. We are talking about business credit. Now, this person might be like saying, well, I don't have a business. Well, that's fine. Get a business, start a business. It's the best way to save money in taxes. Everybody should have a business. People are like, well, I don't even know what to do. I don't know what my business would do. That's fine. Everybody should be in the business of creating financial freedom in future, maybe your future retirement. You're going to start a business. It's a simple process, putting an LLC together, filing it with the Secretary of State, getting your EIN number, right? So you start a business. Now you can start getting business credit on the business. How much business credit can you get? Well, it is possible within 6 to 12 months to get as much as $50,000, or more, in business lines of credit. So all we're going to do is take some of our business lines of credit, and we're going to use that and to do our banking strategy. And for those of you who are my business owners, you're like pulling your hair out. You're like, you're commingling funds. No, that's not. We're not talking about commingling anything. We're talking about with a lot of folks, especially when they have a business, they've used a lot of their own personal credit. And how did they get into this situation? Well, they pumped a lot of their own personal credit into their business. No, all you can do is your business could buy your car, your business could buy your house, and you're just converting some of that debt to the business, and you can do it over time. So definitely you need to work with a CPA or an accountant to make sure that you do your books right, because you don't want to commingle funds. But when you don't have access to credit, business credit is an excellent way. Another way to do this would be to start a secured line of credit. We have Will says, what about buy a business with existing credit? Yeah, that is always a possibility. But businesses that already have existing credit are usually expensive. I mean, how much would you pay for a business that has $250,000 in available lines of credit? Well, how much is that worth? I mean, so it can be expensive. Versus you just building the business on your own, right? Now, another way is to, if business credit isn't your thing, another way to get access to a new line of credit would be to set up a, hold on, I got to learn how to spell a secured line of credit. So there's a lot of different banks that will offer you a way where you can take, say, your income, your $9,500, and put that into some kind of CD. And then you can take that, and then 90% of that is made available to you in a line of credit. So if we take 9,500 and we put that into a line of credit, that means that you would have a line of credit of $8,550. And then the bank holds that. I mean, you could set these up for a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever that is. And so it works like a cash deposit, right? You might make 2.5% on the money, but you can use it just like a line of credit. And so the two options that I have for folks is either build business credit, because you might already have a business, right, that you already set up. You might have a pool cleaning company. I don't know, but it's really easy if you have a business to just go out there and build some business credit. And then if you don't have a business, or you don't have time to wait to put that together, then get a secured line of credit. So those are a couple of thoughts that I had coming into this. But I do agree that we should take the available, we should take the cash flow. So let's pretend just for a moment that the balance that we're carrying was something that was recent and we can just immediately pay it down. Well, with our cash flow that we have, in 9 months, you would have your whole credit line paid off, right? So if all we did is if we took our cash flow here and we applied it right here into the balance, right? If we did that, then this is paid off. Oops, did I spell that right? Paid off in 9 months. Now you're like, how did you get 9 months? Well, think about it. If you're running all of your income and your expenses through your line of credit, then you're essentially paying down the line of credit by $2,600 every month. And if we're paying down $23,000, if we have a $23,000 balance that we're paying off at $2,600, then that'll all be paid off in 8.85 months. So let's just round up to 9. So then once you've got your credit balance down to 0, this is going to have some wonderful effects too, because now your utilization's gone way down. And now when your utilization goes down, that has a positive impact on your credit score by as much as 35%. You could see a 35% increase in your credit score just by simply over the next 9 months. I mean, imagine that. Imagine just having an automatic boost in your credit score by 35%, right? So that's what this is going to do for you right here. Now what happens? Well, what should we do next? We've paid our credit card down to 0. So again, in the mastermind, help me out, folks. What should be the next step? What do we do next? What are we going to do next? I'll let you think about that while I drink a little bit of water. What are we going to do? Bueller. Okay, I got something coming in here. We have from Jamar. He says, use the credit card to pay the mortgage. I like that. I like it a lot. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I mean, I went ahead and did the math. If there's I'm figuring that the houses for the payment that they're making and 142 months left, and it started in February, not February 2020. I must have wrote that wrong. 2002. So I guess that the house that they have is around $250,000. So there's some exciting options there open to us. Let's go to my handy dandy Excel spreadsheet and let us see our credit banking calculator. Let us open that up. All right, here we are. folks? No. I can just get this to cooperate with me. Let us. All right. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn my camera off just real quick so we can take a look at this. All right. So we have got to input some of our stuff. So I believe, based off of the numbers shared, that the house start value is $250,000. However, we're going to put the current debt balance in there at $143,000, and that was at 5% interest. There is 142 months left off of that. And let's go over here and put in our income. So our income is $9,500 a month, and our expenses are $6,900 a month, and our interest rate is 18% interest, and we'll come back to that in a bit. Okay, I think we have enough here. Let's go full screen on this. Okay, folks, plugging things into the calculator. If we're looking at how long is it going to take to pay things off at the current everything's being paid at. Let's see if that payment matches up. Hold on. It was 1,342.05, and this is saying 1,000. And okay, so it's close. It's off by a few dollars, but it's pretty close. Okay, so if they do nothing, they should have it paid off in 11, almost 12 years. So there's one thing where, why would you get a refi loan with only 12 years left to go in the mortgage? Don't do it. But if you just make your minimum payments every month for the next 142 months, you will pay $46,735 of interest. Now, just so you understand what these categories are, this orange one is, what if we just added from our cash flow an extra just $500 a month payment towards the principal? So we make the payment, the regular $1,300 payment, and then we add an extra $500 into that payment towards the principal. Well, what you're going to see is that you end up shaving some time off of that loan, right? That's the orange line that you see on the graph here. So the blue line is just the normal time left to pay off this loan, right? But also, hey, take a look here. It's getting done in 7.9 years, and your total interest paid is going down. So you're saving $16,497 in interest. Not bad. Okay, let's go over here to basic credit banking. This is where we utilize our line of credit, and we put our whole income onto the line of credit, and then we put our expenses back onto the line of credit every month, and then our cash flow pays that all the way down to zero, and then we take a big chunk out of the loan debt for about half, maybe about 14,000, I believe, in this example. Once you pay down your $25,000 or $24,000 line, you take like 14,000 and you put a big chunk, and then of course sweep that all down. So you keep doing that. You will pay off. You'll have this paid off in 3.5 years. Total interest paid is a little bit more than option 2 here, but you will save $10,334. But I think the biggest advantage here is the fact that, oops, there's my calculations. I think the biggest benefit here is instead of it taking almost 12 years to pay off, it's paid off in 3.5 years. That's pretty amazing, folks. let's go ahead and bring me back. Okay, so now you can see here that we're saving money just by utilizing credit banking strategies. Now the yellow one, what's the yellow one? Well, if you look at where we're at, we have the opportunity with that, with as much equity that they have in this property, of getting a HELOC in first position. And so if we utilize the HELOC, and let's say you got it at 4%, and we started making some calculations, it could get paid off even sooner than that. Now let's also bring a little bit of reality to this. I'm making two huge assumptions when we look at the payment calculations here. Assumption number one is that your income doesn't change over this whole period of time. It doesn't go up, it doesn't come down. So let's just be fair and say that, well, it's not realistic that for the next few years that your income is going to stay exactly the same. Now let's hope that more than likely your income is going to go up, but people's income does fluctuate. And then the second thing we're taking into account here is that your expenses aren't going to change. And if any of you have ever, lived life more than a year, you know that things change. And so your expenses, your unexpected expenses, they go up. Now, sometimes they do go down, but this is a way for you to get a rough outline of how the strategy works. But if you can take into account things such as the fact that your income might go up or come down, or that your expenses might change from time to time. If we can continue to get control, when I say control, a lot of reason why our expenses get out of control is because we just don't budget. We just don't even pay attention. But if we're focusing on it, we can keep those expenses for the most part under control. I mean, if there's things that are unforeseen issues that come up, the great thing with the credit banking strategy is you freed up so much money in your lines of credit that you can use that as your emergency fund to take care of emergencies when they come up. Of course, whatever you put in there, you'll have to pay down, and that sets back the time that it takes you to pay off your debt. But at least you've created another resource, because remember, this example that we're working with here, there's no room available. There's only like $1,000 available in their credit. So being able to pay down that whole line of credit and then have access to that. But remember, the line of credit is not for going on vacation, right? It's not for buying a new TV. This is used for the purpose of paying down debts. All right, so I have a question. Is the calculator on your website? Oh, that's a great question. For those who want this credit banking calculator, all you need to do is simply just shoot us a message. You could go on our website. I think I could be able to show you. It's not on my website, but oh, hey, there's YouTube. What am I looking for here? I'm trying to open up a new page. I'm trying to go to my website. Come on now. There we go. And let's go to wiseguysandties.com. All right, take a look at it. Look at our little website. See this guy? Just get to know him a little bit. His name's Widget. Great guy. Now, if you're interested in any of the business credit things that we have going on, that's great. Now, on our website, and this is live, you go to credit, you put in a hyphen, and then you do banking, credit hyphen banking. You go to the page that I mentioned. Simply just fill out the top portions here, your name, your email, put your phone number. You have to check mark the 4 boxes here. And then in the current situation, put in your request. So I'd like to get the credit banking calculator. And then I know, because you've contacted me, that's who I can get it to. Another way, if you already have signed up for, if you have to be a member of the webinar to get this. right? Because again, there's a lot of legal disclaimers. I need to make sure that you understand that this is just a tool that we use and you're using it basically at your own risk. But if you are already a member of the credit banking webinar, you could just go down here to the Let's Chat option, right? And just click on widget down there and say, type in, I'd like to get the credit banking calculator, and make sure you put in your email address. Otherwise, I won't know who to send that to, but you could do that as well. That's only if you're a member. If you are not a member of this webinar and you say you want it, and then I look and see if we have you in our list and you're not in our list, then, well, very simply, just let's make it simple. Just go to credit-banking and boom. Best easiest way to get access is to type in your information right here, check mark the 4 boxes, boom, boom. If you don't want to put in your financials, you don't have to. Come down to current situation and just type in, you know, I want the, you know, banking calculator, right? That's all you have to do. And then click submit, and then you will get an email. Again, I have to have these disclaimers checked marked off, and then yeah, I have no problem. I'll send it to you, and you can play around with it and have fun. All right, folks, that's pretty much all I have for you today. I think there's been some really good interactions, some great questions. Let's just close off with where we were at today. Let's see. I think I just showed you all where to go. Wise Guys and Ties /credit-banking to participate in the Tuesday night webinar. This is such a great option for you because there's only 2 of us. There's only Ray and I, and we literally have hundreds of clients. And so you have the opportunity to continue to work with us and participate and ask questions. This is a one-to-many approach, so we just want to keep it going. Again, if you're new to this, maybe you're watching on YouTube, and you're like, oh yeah, I want to get in on this. I would love to start utilizing some of these strategies. Here's our contact information. You could set up a free 30-minute consult. But again, if you're going to set up a consultation with me, you've got to fill this stuff out, right? Somebody who says, oh yeah, I want to do a free 30-minute consult, it's going to take me 30 minutes just to ask you all of these questions. So just fill it out and send it in, right? And then my office manager will schedule the consultation with you, and we'll sit down, we'll go over it, and we'll see how we can really start helping you implement these strategies. Because I mean, if we can help you get out of that debt that you're in and set you financially free, I mean, just think about what that would be like. Imagine what would it be like if you woke up, you know, a few weeks, a few months from now, and you're like, I'm totally financially free. I don't owe anybody anything. All my income now goes to my bottom line. I mean, oh, you'd just be like, oh, praise the Lord. I mean, it would just be such a wonderful experience. And what helps us with all of our businesses, if we can help all of our clients get out of debt or reduce their debt and free up their cash flow, then they can start doing what they were put on earth to do. I mean, whatever your dreams are, let's make them happen. And then Ray and I, of course, with the nature of our business, though I'm not soliciting any funds, we find that a lot of our clients do end up eventually one day working with us, and we find a great way to create a win-win relationship. So I'm trying to make an investment in you and your future, but I need you to make yourself and your business and your finances a priority. So on behalf of myself, Ray Fleming, all of us here at Wise Guys and Ties, we want to thank you for being on the Mastermind tonight. Looking forward to next week working with you. Make sure you're tuning in on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon for our luncheon on the Wise Guys and Ties YouTube channel, so that you can learn more about different funding opportunities and different ways to to build your business credit or gain access to new lines of credit. We have folks, Jamar saying good job. We have Will saying thank you once again. Guys, you're welcome. I love it that you're here. I wish you nothing but the best. I wish all of you nothing but the best. Thank you so much. Good night and God bless.